How do I know if I'm in ketosis? So there's a few different ways to determine if you're in ketosis. You can go by the objective metrics or the subjective metrics. So we're going to talk about those today. So in terms of objective metrics to see if you are in a state of ketosis or if you're producing ketones, you can measure that in your breath, your urine, and your blood, because those are the places that you produce ketones. So in terms of measuring urine ketones, that might be the first thing that you try because it's going to generally be the cheapest. So you would basically just pee on a ketone strip and it would turn a certain color to tell you if you were producing ketones. So I like to use that as a way of seeing if you actually are producing ketones for someone who may be new to the ketogenic diet or just trying it out for the first time. The issue with using that over the long term is that it's going to become less accurate because as your body starts to produce ketones, it's actually going to start to flush them out and not utilize them for energy because your body's not used to using them as energy. But the more adapted your body becomes to using ketones for energy, the less you're actually going to waste in your urine and the more your cells are actually going to use, right? So the reason why measuring your urine ketones can be beneficial in the beginning is because it can give you kind of a way to see if you're actually producing ketones, but over time, as you become more efficient at using those ketones for fuel, that number is actually going to go down, or that pee strip is actually going to stop showing ketones in it because your body's going to become more efficient at using them and it won't dump them in your urine as much. So in terms of measuring ketones in your breath, so there are devices that you can kind of like blow into that will give you a measurement of how many ketones you're producing or if you're producing ketones in your breath. Those tend to be a little bit wonky in terms of how accurate they are, but just like the urine, you can use them to see if you are starting to produce ketones. The third way of measuring ketones is probably referred to as like the gold standard among people, is going to be measuring ketones in your blood. So that would be using a ketone blood monitor and checking your blood levels of ketones. And in terms of the number that you're looking for, in general, anything above 0.5 millimoles anything above 0.5 millimoles per liter, technically that is you in a state of ketosis. So in terms of blood measurements, that's going to be the gold standard. But again, that can become less accurate over time as your body becomes more efficient at using those ketones for fuel. They're going to stop circulating as much in your bloodstream, and your cells are going to be more efficient at taking them up. So if you're measuring your blood ketones, you may notice that the level goes down a little bit if you become more efficient at actually using those ketones for fuel. So those are the objective metrics, so measuring in your urine, your breath, and your blood. But I personally and typically like to just base it off more so on the subjective metrics, and I'm going to talk about those as well. Another telltale sign that you are in a state of ketosis is just by basing it off how you feel throughout the day. And one of the biggest things is mental clarity and focus. So I like to call it keto euphoria, where you are so focused on what you're doing, you have a lot of mental clarity, a lot, less brain fog, you're able to focus on the task at hand. And so that is one of the telltale signs that you are in a state of ketosis, just having more focus, more clarity, more steady energy throughout the day. So that's kind of the biggest things to focus on with that. Another sign of quote unquote being in a state of ketosis is if you are thinking about appetite throughout the day. A lot of people tend to notice that their appetite is a little bit more suppressed. They're less food focused. They're able to go longer without eating, so they're able to fast for a little bit longer. That's a benefit of ketosis, and we know that ketones, in the research, it shows that ketones can actually be an appetite suppressant in that regard. So that's another way to kind of see or tell if you're in ketosis. So those are kind of the main telltale signs to tell if you're in a state of ketosis without actually measuring, your blood, urine, or breath. And like I said before, I really like to go off of those metrics because that's what actually matters, right? Like, how are you feeling? Not necessarily what, a specific device is telling you, because, if you're going to do this for the long term, or if you're trying to get, long-term benefits, it's all going to depend on how you are personally feeling doing this. And so that's what matters. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more about nutrition, fitness, or metabolic flexibility, you can check out our website, metflexlife.com. There you can find our podcast, Okay, Metflex and Chill, our nutrition and exercise programs, our latest blog posts, free recipes, and much more.